So how does cloud storage work? One solution for handling cloud storage, I guess, is something called the eventual consistency model. So the eventual consistency model solves the problem of how can data be distributed among replicas with a focus on increased availability and performance while being resilient towards connectivity problems. So if you think about for a moment, if you used Dropbox or OneDrive and you have that synced up with your phone and you've enabled automatic picture upload, for example, that's a very common use. And I utilize that on my own cell phone. So let's say that I snap a picture with my phone. Dropbox automatically sends that picture over the internet and puts it in a folder that I have set up within my Dropbox account. So what happens if the internet drops out halfway through that file being uploaded? If I lose reception as that's being uploaded, for example, or my phone dies as that's being uploaded. Eventual consistency focuses on solving that problem. So ensuring that when a file is sent, that it's received in its completion. It's not just a half of a file or anything like that. So in addition, that's one problem, or one aspect of it, I guess. Another aspect is once they have this file, once they have my picture that I've taken and it's been uploaded, how do they ensure that this file won't get lost? So the big way that they do that is, again, with this eventual consistency model. And what that does is that automatically, that pattern, if you will, automatically distributes my picture among various servers or various data centers to ensure that if one of the data centers loses power, for example, that I will still be able to access my file and my data that's stored within Dropbox in this example. So the eventual consistency model, that's kind of a pattern that solves a number of problems around cloud storage and handling cloud storage, making sure that your files are not lost. Because really, you could only imagine that if I lost all of my files all of a sudden that I had stored in Dropbox, that's going to be a deal breaker for me. I'll probably stop using Dropbox and I'll switch to a better service. So, of course, they want to ensure that your files will be safe. So another part of this, so another piece of cloud storage is how are these stored files validated by the provider? So we were talking a little bit earlier about the eventual consistency model. With the eventual consistency model, it ensures that valid files are received on the servers, and then how to propagate those files to ensure that they're backed up reliably. Another aspect of that is simply validating. So just validating this piece of, is the file that I sent from my device over the internet to my cloud storage provider, is that file still intact when it gets there? We want to make sure that it's not corrupt or that it's not only partially received. So one way to do that is using something called a checksum. So a checksum, it counts the number of bits in a transmission that's included with a particular unit to ensure that the same number of bits arrived. So if it counts, if the count matches, it's assumed that the transmission was successful and that the file was received in its completion. So that's something called a checksum.